The first light of dawn filtered gently through the dense canopy, casting long silver streaks across the forest floor. Henry, 38, moved quietly along the narrow trail, her boots sinking softly into the damp earth. She inhaled the crisp morning air, savoring the faint scent of pine and damp moss. For her, these early walks had become a ritual, an escape from the clamor of daily life. A chance to find a moment of calm in the vast stillness of the wilderness. Birdsong mingled with the soft rustle of leaves overhead. Henry paused, closing her eyes for a heartbeat, letting the forest speak in whispers she had grown to understand over years of solitary wandering. She smiled faintly at the memory of a squirrel darting across a fallen log yesterday, the way sunlight had caught the curve of its tail. These simple moments reminded her of the quiet wonders that often went unnoticed in the rush of human life. Yet, even as she walked, a shadow of local legend lingered at the edge of her mind. Stories of Bigfoot had been told for generations, tales of a towering creature roaming the forest, half beast, half ghost. Most people spoke of it with fear, their voices trembling at the thought. Henry, however, had never believed in monsters. She had always approached such stories with skepticism, treating them as folklore meant to thrill or frighten. Still, a flicker of curiosity tickled her mind. What if there was more to the whispers than she realized? Her pace slowed as she scanned the undergrowth, alert yet calm. The forest, in all its quiet majesty, seemed alive, not threatening, but patient, waiting. Henry felt a subtle anticipation, the kind that hinted at discovery without demanding it. Whatever this day held, it would be unlike any she had ever experienced. Henry's boots crunched softly against the layer of fallen leaves, each step measured and deliberate. The forest seemed quieter now, as if it were holding its breath. She paused near a shallow creek, her eyes catching something unusual in the damp soil. Footprints. Large, deep impressions, unlike any animal she had ever seen. They were wide, elongated, and set at a measured distance, suggesting a creature far taller than herself. Her heart quickened, though not with fear, more with a curious alertness. She crouched, brushing a finger along the edge of one print. The earth was soft, slightly muddy from last night's rain. Each ridge and curve of the footprint told a story, silent yet powerful. Henry's mind raced through possibilities: bear, elk, but the shape, the stride, nothing matched. Something told her this was different. The rustle of leaves drew her gaze upward. A branch had snapped somewhere nearby, the sound subtle but unmistakable. She froze, listening. The forest offered only gentle whispers, the distant call of a bird, the sigh of wind through tall pines, the drip of water from moss-covered rocks. Yet beneath it all, there was a rhythm she hadn't noticed before, a weight moving with purpose. Careful and deliberate, Henry stood slowly, scanning the undergrowth. Her pulse steady despite the growing curiosity. She noticed more signs: tufts of dark fur caught on a low branch, a broken twig perfectly placed along a trail, and the faint scent of something earthy, musky, and almost human. It was unsettling in a way that was not frightening, but compelling. She felt as if the forest was whispering, urging her to pay attention, to notice things that others might overlook. She took a deep breath, letting the cool, damp air fill her lungs. The footprints were too deliberate to be accidental, too precise to be random. Someone or something had passed this way. Henry's skepticism wavered, replaced by a quiet wonder. The forest had always been alive, but now it felt almost sentient, as if it were aware of her presence. And somewhere, just beyond her sight, the watcher waited. Henry's eyes scanned the forest, tracing the trail of broken branches and tufts of dark fur. The mist clung to the trees, curling around trunks and moss-covered stones, softening the light of the rising sun. Then, in a small clearing ahead, she saw it just for a heartbeat. A large figure moved slowly, deliberately, between the trees. It was massive, far taller than any human, with broad shoulders and long limbs that seemed almost graceful despite its size. Its fur was deep brown, catching the morning light in faint golden streaks. Henry froze, every instinct urging her to retreat, yet something held her in place. The creature was not threatening. It knelt beside a fallen sapling, examining something on the ground with careful attention. Its movements were gentle, deliberate, almost tender. Henry felt her fear melting into curiosity. The eyes she glimpsed, a warm amber shade, seemed to reflect a quiet intelligence, a careful watchfulness. For the first time, the idea of a monster vanished from her mind. She lowered herself behind a thick pine, keeping her distance, heart beating steadily. Every rustle, every subtle shift in the forest made her keenly aware of the creature's presence. She noticed the way it adjusted its weight as if aware of its surroundings, how it touched the earth with deliberate care. In that fleeting moment, Henry felt a strange, unspoken connection. The forest, the morning mist, and this enormous, gentle being seemed to exist together in a quiet harmony. Whatever this creature was, it was alive with purpose, intelligence, and something far beyond the tales of fear she had heard. And just like that, the first glimpse left her with a single, undeniable thought. This was no monster. Henry crouched behind a moss-covered tree, her breath slow and steady. She watched as the large figure moved with surprising gentleness. In a small clearing, she saw what caught her attention, a tiny injured fawn lying helplessly among the fallen leaves. Its leg was bent at an awkward angle, and it trembled with each shallow breath. Without hesitation, Bigfoot knelt beside the fragile creature. Henry's heart tightened as she observed the enormous hands carefully adjusting the fawn's position, making sure it was comfortable. The creature hummed softly, a low, almost human-like sound of reassurance. Every motion was deliberate, tender, and patient. It was clear that despite its size and strength, it knew how delicate life could be. Henry's eyes welled with emotion. All the stories of monsters, of terrifying legends, seemed utterly false. Here was a being with intelligence, care, and a profound empathy that she had never imagined. She felt an unexpected warmth spreading through her chest, a connection forming across the distance between human and forest guardian. The fawn, sensing the calm presence, quieted, its breathing steadier. Bigfoot stayed with it, placing a few leaves carefully around the creature, almost like a gentle gesture of comfort. Henry realized that this was the heart of the creature, the kindness hidden behind the myth, the soul that no tale of fear had ever captured. For a long moment, the forest was silent, save for the soft rustling of leaves and the faint sound of water nearby. Henry understood something vital. Monsters exist only in fear. But hearts like this exist in care, patience, and understanding. She stayed still, watching, her skepticism fully replaced by awe and a quiet reverence she would carry forever. Henry took a slow, careful step forward, her eyes never leaving the gentle giant. Bigfoot had finished tending to the fawn, which now rested quietly, its breathing steady. The creature lifted its head slightly, as if sensing her presence, but it did not move away. Instead, it remained kneeling, calm and composed, its amber eyes observing without threat. Her pulse quickened, not with fear, but with cautious curiosity. She lowered herself slightly, trying to make her presence less intrusive, every movement deliberate and respectful. The forest seemed to lean in with her, leaves barely rustling, as though it recognized the significance of this moment. Bigfoot shifted its weight slowly, the motion deliberate yet gentle. Henry noticed the way it exhaled softly, almost like a human sigh, and she felt an unspoken acknowledgement. In that instant, a bridge of understanding formed between them. No words were needed. Silence spoke volumes. She stepped a little closer, drawn by an invisible trust, and saw the creature reach for a small stone, placing it beside the fawn, a simple gesture of care and protection. Henry's chest tightened. The enormity of the being before her was balanced by the tenderness in its actions. For several long moments, They simply observed each other. Henry felt a deep respect, a quiet reverence for the life she was witnessing. Every preconceived notion about monsters dissolved. Here was a creature capable of thought, emotion, and connection qualities she had long admired in humans.
Finally, she exhaled slowly, letting the tension of curiosity and awe settle into quiet peace. For the first time, Henry understood something profound. Trust can exist in the most unexpected places. And understanding often comes in silence. Henry remained motionless, her breath barely audible as Bigfoot rose slowly, towering above the fawn, but remaining entirely gentle in its movements. The creature's eyes met hers for a fleeting moment, and she felt a quiet depth there, an intelligence, a patience, and a tenderness that transcended any story she had ever heard. Then she saw it. Bigfoot reached into the underbrush and carefully retrieved a small bundle of moss and leaves. From beneath, a tiny trembling creature emerged, a baby bird fallen from its nest. Henry's heart ached at its vulnerability. Without hesitation, Bigfoot cradled it with enormous hands. So careful, it seemed almost human in its gentleness. Henry watched, mesmerized. The creature inspected the baby bird, adjusting the moss and leaves to create a makeshift nest, humming softly in a tone that seemed almost melodic. It was deliberate, patient, and undeniably loving. The forest seemed to quiet around them, as if acknowledging the sacredness of the moment. Tears pricked Henry's eyes. Every fearful legend of Bigfoot, the stories of aggression, the imagined monsters crumbled into nothing. What stood before her was a being capable of empathy, kindness, and profound care. She felt a wave of warmth, an understanding that connection could exist even across the boundaries of species, size, and myth. The baby bird, now settled and calm, looked safe. Bigfoot gave it a gentle, final touch, then turned its gaze to Henry again. In its eyes, she saw recognition and trust, an unspoken assurance that she was welcome here in this fragile, quiet world. For a moment, time seemed to suspend itself. Henry realized she was witnessing the heart of a creature that no human story could ever capture. It was a heart full of love, patience, and intelligence, and it had chosen to share that heart in silence. In that shared moment, Henry's perspective shifted forever. She understood the truth that had always been hiding behind the myths. Monsters are not defined by fear. They are revealed through the depth of their hearts. Henry took a slow, deliberate step back, careful not to startle the gentle giant. The forest seemed unusually still, as if holding its breath in acknowledgement of the fragile, profound connection she had just witnessed. Bigfoot remained near the fawn and the tiny bird's nest, kneeling patiently, its amber eyes flicking toward her only briefly, as if offering a quiet farewell. Every step Henry took felt weighted with reverence. She didn't rush, didn't look away, but allowed the moment to linger in her mind. The giant creature's calm presence had filled the clearing with an unspoken serenity, a reminder of the patience and care that existed in the world, often unseen. As she moved through the mist, the subtle sounds of the forest accompanied her, leaves brushing softly, distant water trickling, birds calling in the distance. She felt a sense of peace settle over her, a gentle echo of the quiet trust she had shared with the creature. Nothing about the encounter had been loud or dramatic, yet it had left a profound impression that would remain with her for a lifetime. Henry glanced back one last time. Bigfoot was watching, still kneeling, a guardian of the small lives in the clearing. There was no aggression, no curiosity born of fear, only calm awareness, intelligence, and an unmistakable sense of connection. The forest seemed to embrace both of them, the morning light filtering through the canopy, soft and golden, casting a gentle glow over the scene. As she continued walking, Henry realized that what she had seen went far beyond any legend or story. It was a silent testament to the heart of a being misunderstood by generations. a living proof that not everything unknown is dangerous, and that sometimes the most extraordinary lessons come in the quietest moments. She carried that thought with her step by step, letting the peace and wonder settle deep within her. Back at her small cabin at the edge of the forest, Henry sat quietly by the window, a warm cup of tea cradled between her hands. The morning sunlight filtered softly through the curtains, casting gentle patterns on the wooden floor. Her mind kept returning to the clearing, to the enormous, gentle creature she had observed with such care. Every detail replayed vividly: the fawn, the baby bird, the tender, deliberate movements of Bigfoot. She realized that what she had witnessed was far beyond any story, any legend. It was a living example of patience, empathy, and care, qualities she had long admired in humans, but never imagined encountering in a creature so mysterious, so misunderstood. A profound sense of gratitude filled her chest. Gratitude for the trust shown, for the silent lesson imparted without words. Henry sipped her tea slowly, reflecting on how quickly fear can cloud judgment. For years, she had dismissed the stories of Bigfoot as folklore, tales of monsters meant to frighten. But now she understood that these stories often hide a truth overlooked. Appearances can deceive, and the heart of a being is revealed only in its actions. She thought about the quiet trust Bigfoot had offered, the calm assurance in its eyes, and the gentle way it had nurtured life without expectation of reward. It was a reminder that true strength lies not in fear or aggression, but in compassion, patience, and understanding. As the day wore on, Henry felt a shift within herself. She would carry this encounter quietly, a secret kept not out of fear, but out of respect. Sharing it would not enhance the experience. The memory was sacred, a personal reminder that the world is full of hidden hearts waiting to be seen, understood, and respected. For the first time in years, Henry felt deeply connected to the forest, to life itself, and to the profound truth that not all that is unknown should be feared. Some things are meant to teach us silently, through observation, patience, and the quiet power of empathy. In the stillness of her cabin, Henry smiled softly, a heart forever changed, carrying a truth that only the forest and its gentle giant could have revealed. Henry sat by her window once more, the forest visible in the distance, bathed in late afternoon light. The memory of the morning's encounter lingered, vivid and profound. She understood something that many never truly grasp. Not everything unknown is dangerous, and not every legend is rooted in fear. Some creatures, some moments, exist to teach lessons far beyond what words can convey. She reflected on the gentle giant. She had seen the careful way it nurtured life, the quiet attention it paid to the smallest details. It had shown patience, empathy, and respect for the living world in a way that no human story could have prepared her for. Henry realized that fear often blinds people to understanding, and assumptions can prevent them from seeing truth and beauty where it exists. The experience reminded her that compassion is a language universal to all living beings. She thought about the fawn, the baby bird, and the deliberate, loving gestures of Bigfoot. Each act was a small demonstration of a heart capable of kindness, care, and intelligence. To witness such moments is to understand that appearances can be misleading, and that the soul of a being is revealed through actions, not myths or rumors.
Henry smiled softly, knowing she would carry this lesson with her always. She understood that life is full of hidden hearts, unseen acts of love, and quiet guardians who protect, nurture, and teach without expectation or recognition. The forest was alive with more than just trees and animals. It was alive with stories, waiting to be understood by those who notice, who observe with patience, and who approach with empathy. Her takeaway was simple yet profound. Fear often obscures truth, but careful observation and open-heartedness reveal the world as it truly is. Some of the most extraordinary lessons come not from noise and spectacle, but from stillness, attention, and the quiet, tender acts of beings who choose to care. Henry knew that the memory of this gentle giant and its heart would stay with her forever, a reminder that the world is full of lessons for those willing to see with more than their eyes. A few days later, Henry returned to the forest, her steps slow and deliberate. The morning mist curled gently around the trees, the soft light of dawn painting the forest floor in muted gold. She walked along the same trail, each step careful, as if honoring the memory of what she had witnessed. Near the clearing, she noticed subtle signs of the giant's presence. A tuft of dark fur caught on a low branch, a few carefully placed stones arranged near the fawn's resting place, and a faint scent of earth and moss that seemed unusually strong. Henry smiled softly, her heart swelling with a quiet warmth. These were not the signs of a monster, but of a creature with thought, care, and a gentle heart. She paused and looked around, taking in the peaceful rhythm of the forest. Everything was as she remembered: the rustle of leaves, the distant trickle of water, the soft calls of birds. But now it felt richer, alive with presence, as if the forest itself remembered the gentle giant and the life it had protected. Henry felt a profound sense of closure, yet also a lingering awe. She understood that some truths are meant to be experienced quietly, not shouted from rooftops. She would carry this memory forever, a reminder of patience, empathy, and the unexpected kindness that exists even in places feared or misunderstood. Turning slowly, she left the clearing, her eyes glancing back one final time. Somewhere, hidden among the trees, the gentle giant watched too, a silent guardian in the mist. And in that shared silence, Henry knew the world was larger, kinder, and far more mysterious than any story she had ever heard. Some lessons come not with noise, but in whispers. Some hearts, no matter how hidden, reveal themselves only to those who truly see.